Welcome to Board Game Homies, where a group of friends play, review, and share about all things board games. Sitting around the table today are
Reed, Becky,
Gillian,
and I'm Angela. Today we are deep diving a board game topic: FOMO, Kickstarter, upgrades, aka thou shalt covet. But first, let's talk about something that's bringing us communal joy.
So we all attended a local gaming convention of sorts called Board Game Break. It was largely an event to house a bunch of board gaming enthusiasts to play board games with each other. There weren't a lot of side hustles or what have you, but it was largely focused on the community coming in and playing board games together. There were some competitions involved, such as Wingspan, Cascadia, Azul high score tournaments, and the like. But it was a great experience because it was the first that I've attended ever, actually, and it was a lot of fun just to see the community so enthusiastic. It occurred over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday was the most attended. There were a lot of folks there. Friday and Sunday were a little, I think, scarce, at least when we were in attendance. But it was good. It was a lot of fun. What'd you all think?
I love this. I went to the last one, which was actually the first one ever. We live in Oregon, in Eugene, I think we've mentioned. And so there isn't, it's not a big city. It's a college town. It's got a population of about 170,000. And we have a really nice board game shop that we all enjoy. And it was kind of wonderful to see them put on something that just brought people in. It was intergenerational, so I think maybe the youngest person was 16 who was there. They were just full of energy and really excited to be there, and it really went across the spectrum of our community. I saw a number of people that I knew, which was funny because then I was outed as a board game person, which is I already tell people I'm a board game person, but now I say, oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. So I really liked all of the people I got to interact with and kind of make new friends in the board game world. Not that we can add anybody to the group all the time, because I'm Reed, you have to go so we can add new Rick to our group. But people were so kind. I think that was the biggest takeaway is it seems really intimidating to go someplace. And when I went last year, I was the only person who went because everybody was busy, and it's really intimidating and scary. But people were so kind and wonderful, and that just happened again.
Actually, I tried to go last time, but by the time that I could get a ticket after you were like, hey, this is really cool, it was already sold out. So I missed my opportunity and got my ticket pretty much as soon as it went on sale this year.
Yeah, and as for the first one, Becky and I had prior obligations, so we weren't able to go that weekend.
This kind of sounds like FOMO.
I definitely had FOMO. I definitely had FOMO because meanwhile, while all of us were doing our own separate things, Angela was at the board gaming convention texting us oh, I played this game, I played with this person, and we were very concerned that she was going to call us all.
Yeah, I loved that because I think I was telling you guys, I played Wonderland's War there for the first time. That's where I played Cascadia for the first time. I bought Scout maybe shortly after that convention. No, it was Sea Salt and Paper, based on seeing it on somebody's table, and that game has been really awesome for my collection. So I had so many good memories, and I was like, guys, guess what I did? Guess what I did? Guess what I did? And Gillian was texting back last year the whole time, what does the sale look like? What does the sale look like? Who's bringing their board games?
I definitely love a good board game garage sale.
I really enjoyed this as well. I don't really enjoy being around people, and I also have stranger danger built into my system. So at first I was really excited about this event because I was like, oh, we're going to go see board games and talk about board games, and there are going to be lots of little shops, and it's going to be great. And then as we got closer to it, I realized, oh, we're going to be playing board games with other people, which made me nervous, but I was brave. And I don't think I played any games without at least one of you with me, but Reed and I felt like we're very brave and played a couple of games with strangers.
Becky, I would actually say you were really brave because you and I signed up for the 2-player tournament. And so we actually had to play a number of games with strangers.
That's true.
Yeah, but we started off, our draw for our first game. Oh gosh, I can't remember.
Project L.
Project L, yes. So we got to play each other, and then we went off with strangers, and I felt like being able to play my first game with you made it less anxiety-inducing, at which point I promptly lost to Scott in a game of Jaipur, other Rick in a game of Patchwork, and then... was it Rosie who I lost to? No.
Rose.
And then I lost to Rose in my final game of The Fox and the Forest. But I really liked that game. I think what was also exciting is the lead up to the 2-player tournament. Becky and I were trying to cram in as many 2-player games and trying to figure out what they were going to play so we could enter this tournament, which is also scary because then you're playing games that maybe you don't know very well. And I played The Fox in the Forest for 5 seconds and then immediately got trounced, but it was really fun.
I just want to mention that when we were practicing the 2-player games, we played Fox in the Forest and we played one round of it, and then you were like, but what if we played Brass Birmingham right now?
To be fair, we did then run upstairs, play Brass Birmingham, and it was wonderful.
And then Angela proceeded to beat Becky in a one-on-one match quite handily, and then just left everything on the table for poor Becky to clean up.
I mean, that's kind of what happens if you lose.
Well, this is definitely FOMO because I'm like, wait, when were you playing brass?
No!
And you went home at some point during the tournament and then decided to study up and ended up playing brass on your own.
No, this is before the weekend.
Yeah, I had a 12-hour day right before the weekend, and I took a break in the middle so I didn't have to work 12 hours and came over and played some of the 2-player games, which was good. And then I was like, I could keep playing The Fox in the Forest, which is a trick-taking game. It's really fun, great card game. If you actually live in the Eugene area, you can pick it up from our library of things at the Eugene Public Library. Shout out Eugene Public Library. But it was really fun, but also I could play brass with Becky because Gillian wandered away. So I was like, heck yeah.
I took a nap.
How long does a 2-player version of brass take? Because we're at about 2:10 for our games.
I think it's an hour and a half for 2 players.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty nice. But there were a lot of games that I hadn't played before at the tournament. I really appreciated getting to do new different games.
Yeah, and to kind of speak to Becky's point about playing with strangers, I kind of went beyond my comfort zone a little bit. I entered the Wingspan tournament and ended up playing with 3 randos, 3 strangers. And it was a lot of fun for the most part. It was a very long game of Wingspan, so that was a little unfortunate. But I did enjoy it overall, and it was great to play with Brooke and Dave and get to know them. I ended up playing a game of Harmonies with Dave later on. And so that was really cool. It was great to make those connections, and throughout the Saturday that we played, we all kind of knew each other, and so there was a moment where I was just looking for a game, and Brooke was like, hey, Dave, you should play with Gillian. And so sent him my way. We played, sat down for Harmonies, and then Reed sat right in between us randomly and started playing with us. So it was a lot of fun.
I really appreciated that about the weekend. They had a high score tournament where 3 different games, Cascadia, Wingspan, and Azul, were set up, and as soon as the 4th person signed up for the game started, and you just reported your scores. And I saw with our group, with the experience with Dave that you just shared, and also a couple of other folks from some of the games Angela and Rita and I played, and just outside of us, I watched it too. People, it gave people a comfortable person to kind of watch for, to see oh, Reed's playing the White Castle. I'm going to see if maybe I can play that with Reed too. Or I played a game with that person already. I'm kind of familiar with them. This feels more comfortable to try and play another game. So I really appreciated the format of that tournament. I don't know if that was the intention of it, but I thought it was really sweet to see people who played together in that tournament playing other games together.
I agree with that. I think that Becky and I kind of hitched up our pants right when we got there and jumped into a game of Wingspan with 2 complete strangers, and it ended up being a pretty great game. It was only 45 minutes. Everybody knew how to play, and we were okay, I don't know who won, but it felt like a good, fun game to play. And then we went into Azul, I think pretty close after that. And it was fun. It was definitely interesting to play with different people who approach the game differently. And there was a lot of openness when you play with strangers. Like, hey, I'm not sure what you did was the right way to do it. Do you call people on rules? There were all these kind of questions that came up. But I think that my tournament experiences were pretty great.
And while you two ended up going to Wingspan, Angela and I just sat down to play a game that was new to me and one that Angela Spite plays on BGA, Board Game Arena, in Lost Ruins of Arnak. It was interesting because Angela was, as I said, Spite playing it for a long time on Board Game Arena and never played it in person, so I wanted to try it. I was always curious about it. I ended up opting for Dune Imperium back when there was that, either or conversation, I think, in the general board game community. And I really loved Dune Imperium, so I was very curious what the hubbub was about regarding Lost Ruins of Arnak. And we played it, and I thought it was okay, but it was an interesting game overall. But overall, I think I prefer Dune Imperium. So
yeah, I spite play that game because I think there is sometimes a pressure to like games that have come up into the public eye. You're supposed to like, this game is really great, and everyone says it's really great, and it's by CGE that we like. I love the production games from CGE. But it's a game that when I played it online, I was like, man, I just don't know if online games are for me. I can't wait to play this game in person. And also, I didn't want to buy the game, and I didn't have access to it. So that this little mini tournament in our hometown had all of these games in the game library that we could play. Even though I think I'm good with not playing that game, I got so much joy out of playing it in person and just crossing that off my list of, actually, it's not that you play it online, it's that maybe you just don't resonate with this game. And there were so many people who were excited because there was a copy of Dune Imperium Uprising that people were like very stoked. And I just loved watching people wander over to other tables and get excited to see these games that they'd been wanting to play. I think Scott and I were having this conversation as he was, not Scott, sorry, other Rick was having this conversation as he was beating me at Patchwork by a lot. I didn't know you could have so few buttons at the end of that game. So he was saying, I really enjoyed Dune Imperium, and I was like, do you like Uprising? And he's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get it, because if you have one, maybe you shouldn't have the other. And it was just engaging in this discourse with somebody that is kind of the reason why we started a podcast, is we just would have these really long conversations after playing a board game and pick up these topics like, okay, Dune Imperium versus Dune Imperium Uprising. Would you get both? Who would you play that with? And just realizing that other people in the community are excited about that kind of conversation brought me a lot of joy.
Sounds like we need to get other Rick +1 to play the 6-player version of Dune Imperium Uprising.
He would love that. We exchanged phone numbers.
I also got to play a couple of games that I had not played before. I played Splendor Duel with Becky. We did not finish it, but started it enough to get some of the rules down. And Heat, which we all played, which, on our racing game mode, we've talked about a lot. And then King Domino was one that was like a surprising, fun game.
I really like that game. I bought it because it was on sale, because girl loves a sale. And it won the Spiel des Jahres, and I was like, well, this is like a kid's family game. And then we played it, and I was like, oh, I'm actually really happy this is in my collection. I can't wait to play it again with folks.
Both games of King Domino that I played, the winners ran away with the mines. So I'm curious to see if that continues to happen.
That's exactly what I said, because when I looked at the winner of Becky's game, I was like, oh, it's the mines again, huh?
Rose crushed me with the mines, as did Angela.
To be fair, I think Rose didn't lose a single game, and I loved Rose and getting to meet Rose. It was nice. Rose's partner hosted the 2-player tournament, and I think Rose kind of got roped into all of that, and they crushed almost everybody. I think they lost maybe on the second day in a game of Clask, which I was like, what a great tiebreaker, Clask. So they were really awesome, and I loved getting to see them later in the tournament and being like, hi Rose, did you win? How did it go? They were very kind, as what happens when your partner tricks you into something, and they taught one of the younger competitors how to play, I think it was like a crow game, and they were very nice when they beat me in the Fox and the Forest.
Odin's Ravens.
Odin's Ravens. Yeah, that looked really interesting.
I want to rewind the clock to the very beginning of Board Game Break, where the four of us met up for breakfast and then went for coffee and played Love Letter. It was a very interesting and fun time. It was full of laughter because Reed busted out Love Letter, which she borrowed from Becky, and I was being dealt cards, and as I put them into my hand, I was very confused. One of them had a sleeve that was right side up. The other one was upside down. And I looked to the group and I said, what is going on? What happened here? And discovered that Reed had never sleeved a game before, decided to sleeve Love Letter, and did it in a very inconsistent manner. And it just brought us a lot of joy and laughter. So thank you, Reed.
I aim to please.
Reed, you have a beautiful mind, and that's what's important. But I think that's a really good transition to what we're going to talk about today, because if you have any sort of FOMO listening to a bunch of friends talk about their local gaming convention, or if you're really interested in upgrades and accessories, such as card sleeves that you will put on a game wrong, well, we've got the topic for you. Today we'll be talking about FOMO, crowdfunding, upgrades and accessories, and what it means to covet a game.
So FOMO, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, is the fear of missing out, fear of not being included in something such as an interesting or enjoyable activity that others are experiencing.
Such as purchasing board games.
Crowdfunding is defined as third-party platforms that give board game designers the opportunity to sell their board games outside of traditional publishing means, even though those smaller independent publishers and designers may also now be used by much larger publishing houses as a platform. This includes Kickstarter and GameFound.
One thing about crowdfunding is that some publishing houses elect to include Kickstarter or crowdfunding exclusives in their postings to entice folks to back their projects, which are only available during the crowdfunding campaign and are not available at retail, which induces FOMO. Upgrades and accessories and really coveting those aspects of board gaming is something that Reed is very familiar with. In that we play a board game, Reed says, this is amazing, it would be great on my wall, I'm going to buy it, even though one or more people in this board gaming homies group has it. Reed, what say you?
I do not have a rebuttal for that. I am guilty. I'm guilty as charged. It is really interesting. I am being very particular as I'm rebuilding my game collection and thinking about what games I need, what games I don't need, yet somehow instead of rebuying all the games that I did have, I keep being like, oh, what if I were to get that game? What if I were to get this new game that we're looking at? And yeah, it's an interesting place to be.
Yeah, because I have FOMO. Being a long-time comic book collector nerd who goes to Comic-Con and gets like lots of exclusives, or who used to collect like Marvel trading cards, not like a trading card game, but literally they would make like trading cards for Marvel characters, and you could get like a foil or a holograph, always wanting to get that, or get the comic book that was like, you know, this is a 1 out of 20 variant cover that's specially designed. I was always looking to have the thing that I was missing out on. And so I come from a heavily FOMO'd background, but I also tend to covet. Like, I watch you covet a game where I'm like, Reed, where are you going to play that? And you're like, I don't know. I will find people to play. And then it inspires me to have FOMO, because I'm like, well, if Reed has the game and Becky and Gillian have the game, then shouldn't I have the game? And so it's this interesting circle, like coming from a FOMO background of how much I watch you covet, and then I FOMO, and then I try to not FOMO. Like, I don't want to buy White Castle, but I do want to buy White Castle.
My name is Gillian, and I also have FOMO. And I'm probably the worst offender in this group because I get FOMO at every little thing from Wormspan. When Reed was thinking about getting Wormspan, even though I know Becky hates Wingspan, I said, what if I got Wormspan? And then it fell on deaf ears, and then by the time I decided, Reed had already purchased it, which was totally fine, and it was great, and then it burned in a fire. But I'm sorry, Reed.
It's not untrue and pretty funny.
But I find myself struggling a lot with FOMO just in general. In this very moment, or I should say 2 days leading up to this recording, Becky and I have discovered a game called Federation from some of our favorite YouTubers, Board Game Ramblings, rather. Angela also discovered Federation through a different podcaster, and asked us if we heard about the game, and Becky and I said, yes, we have heard about the game. And I said, Angela, you better buy it before I do, because I'm thinking about it. And so that, it's an ever existing problem for me.
And this is even after, in that same board game trip, where they went to the board game store. It's not that far of a trip down the street, but we got a photo of Gillian holding Ark Nova, which I had purchased off like a Dent and Ding sale a number of months ago. We wanted to try out Ark Nova, and so I took the plunge. And Gillian was holding Ark Nova, like, I think I might buy this. And I was like, girl, you already have total access to it. You can totally borrow my copy. And he's like, but what if I had a copy? And was shooketh when they walked home with neither Federation nor Ark Nova in their pockets.
Yeah, it's a problem. And I admit I'm still probably going to buy Ark Nova, if not just to play solo, because Becky hates zoos. But it's interesting because even though you offered to let me borrow it, I just think to myself, well, what if I want to upgrade it? What if I want to buy an organizer? What if I want to do all this?
He doesn't want your peasant ding copy.
It's not the ding copy. It's the unsleeved cards, Reed.
We all did offer to help, but that might have been before Love Letter, and now we're not allowed. I'm not allowed to help.
You're not allowed to.
You need practice. It's going to be great.
I need 200 and something cards.
I vicariously lived through Gillian's FOMO. He does most of the researching into games to decide if it's something that we're going to like or not. And every now and then I'll see something like Ice, I think is what it's called, has been all over Instagram. And I'm like, oh, this is so pretty. People are saying maybe it's not great, but it's so pretty. Gillian, have you looked at this game? Gillian, will we like this game? And with like the accessories and stuff, I've never bought any of them, but whenever Gillian buys them, I'm happy we have them. And I look at other copies of games and I'm like, wow, this is a peasant copy of I don't know, Clans of Caledonia. It doesn't have upgraded coins and the coins don't match.
Well, and I watched this play out in real time. So for the last year, I've been researching getting a board game table and making the investment. And I understand that getting a board game table is, I'm in a very privileged position to be able to afford that and to afford the one that I would like to get. But I wanted to do a lot of research around it. And so I have been exposing poor Ashton to board game table after board game table videos, trying to figure out which one was going to be right for us. And she kind of helps with the aesthetic of our entire house, which is considered grandma chic. And so we're very, very cool. And so I wanted to get a table that also matched the aesthetic of our house. And we settled on a board game table and the Kickstarter just closed for it. And through this process, I've been sharing with all the homies, like, what woods, what size table, what would be this. And finally the day came where the Kickstarter released, and I had to take like a 30-minute break to try and run to Kickstarter. And I was talking to like a reporter, and so I couldn't get out of the meeting, and I was like 30 minutes late to the Kickstarter, and I get a text from Gillian being like, I pushed the button, I'm getting a table too. And I was like, what the what? And then Becky's like, yes, we are. And I was like, this is the biggest level of FOMO I've ever seen on a board game table.
So Becky, what say you? You didn't want to back the table at the beginning, but once I clicked the button and you looked at it, you said, yeah, this is good.
I was very anti second board game table. I don't even have words for it.
It's Becky's puzzle table. It's your puzzle table.
Well, that's what Gillian said. He was like, Becky, you need a puzzle table. The folding table was out for 6 months.
That is true, and it was in our living room, so yes.
But then, Gillian also approached me. He was like, I clicked the button on Kickstarter, but also we don't have to go through with it. We can back out. And then I got onto their Instagram and I saw the hex table in the black walnut with the teal felt.
Sea salt.
Oh, sorry. With the sea salt felt liner, and I fell in love. And I was like, well, maybe it's not the worst thing ever. It would be nice. Remember when we ate dinner with the 4 of us and Ashton ate with us, and you said it was awkward that the 5 of us were trying to go around our little table, and you already hate my table, so...
I don't hate it. The legs are just in an unfortunate position, hence the reason why I wanted to get another table.
I mean, that's fair. I thought about that as I set up the table, because it's a square table for 4 people, but then it has 2 wings that come out from under it onto the sides. And so I pulled those out today because Ashton's going to eat dinner with us. I'm very excited to have her here. And I was like, man, these chairs really do awkwardly go right against the table legs. It's going to be so nice to have a new table.
Exactly. And so Becky gave into the FOMO as well. Reed, what do you say?
Well, I do not research a lot of board games or board game tables, but I get to live vicariously through you all living vicariously through each other, and love the kind of the hype and energy leading up to it. I did pre-order Wingspan, which for me was like really exciting about like getting to push the button when it was for sale. So I definitely get the energy around it. And I think that for me, I don't do the Kickstarter games, and just wait until you all deliver a game to me to play.
What was your reasoning for getting the upgrades in Wingspan?
Oh, probably having played with your collective metal coins so much that I was like, oh, do I really want this peasant dragon money? And then just the little dragon meat bits or goat meat bits. I still don't know if we know whose meat or whose milk it is. The little gold butters. They just look so pretty.
And the play mats.
Yeah, those are trash.
Well, now they're crispy trash.
No, they're the only things that were fine.
I think accessories and upgrades are hard, and we plan on doing a topic where we dig into the environmentalism of board games, and I know right now we're talking about a lot of capitalist spending and consumerism, and so we do know that there is a balance to that, and we have a whole episode planned where we hope Ashton will come on and talk about some parallels that we see like in the world and in slow fashion as well. But what's hard if we take the environmentalism out of it is that sometimes upgrading your game makes your game feel a little more elevated. Like we joke when we say the peasant copy, like the regular copy is totally and wonderful and fine, and I will play the regular copy of a game any day. And also I will say that like the brass Birmingham clay chips,
Iron clays.
the iron clays are wonderful, and I'm constantly playing with those, and it's adding a tactile feel to the game that is so different than I think I've experienced in games before. Because when you're a kid and you're playing Sorry or Monopoly and you have paper money, you're like, ah, this is what board games are. And then you can kind of feel this elevated sense. It's like dining at a finer establishment restaurant in a way, that you're spending a little bit more, but you're getting a different experience. That doesn't mean that the food isn't as good at a restaurant, that they're not, have a 3-month waiting list. Like, that's not what it's about. But I don't know, there's just something to it, and it's constantly a challenge for me whether I'll upgrade the bits. Like, I struggled so much just getting the chips for Quacks of Quendolenburg, and I love Quacks of Quendolenburg. I don't know that game is ever leaving my collection, and I still, like, really struggled with myself to pay, $15, $20 for the extra things, because I was like, that could be another board game that I purchase. That could be something else that I do.
Can we talk about Castles of Burgundy and whether or not you would play that peasant copy?
That's really hard to read because the base game of that looks so bad that I think it maybe interferes with the quality. Now, to be fair, I played Castles of Burgundy for the first time on the upgraded edition, and seeing the older editions, I just don't know how people played that and loved it. and I did when they
you're trying to defend yourself.
No, I'm saying, hi, my name is Angela and I have a problem. I bought the Kickstarter, when it went on GameFound, actually. I bought the upgraded edition and I struggled with it. Like, I think this is that topic of, that is the most money I've ever spent on a board game. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm spending this, which is funny. Ashton will hear this later and then be like, how much did you spend on that board game? But it was that sense of, like, you're not going to be able to get it with the acrylic tiles because that never came to retail. And so I would have to find it off of eBay. And I did look on eBay, and they were going for, I think, more than what the GameFound edition was, because you just couldn't get it anymore. So I did it. I feel bad about it. And also I really like how pretty that edition is and how wonderful it actually makes the gameplay feel compared to the kind of ugly crap version that still plays really well, but just isn't as beautiful.
So what I'm hearing is Becky and I are bad influences.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Although, as we're sitting here and have a set of the Tinkertown Games coins for the White Castle, Gillian was like, no, I'm fine playing with the cardboard. And then Angela and I were like, really? And so then I just kind of forced them on you. And I'm like, here, we need to play with metal.
Which I'm very happy about. I was just trying to convince myself that I didn't need yet another set of metal coins. So it was very much appreciated. It was Becky's birthday present. But yes.
I do think at this point we probably have enough variety of metal coins that we could use them for any game that we get.
Oh, these will be perfect for Tokaido as well.
No.
But Becky, we don't have space-themed coins. We need those.
What does that look like?
I don't know, but Voidfall has coins. I think. Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't opened up the box, really. But we need them nonetheless.
Space coins is they just scan your hand.
Also, we gave ourselves a special upgrade to Ark Nova that was an off-the-market tiny mug that says homies. So if we could figure out how to take a panoramic picture of it, we'll put it on Instagram.
Yeah, Reed gives the best gifts, I have to say. We sat around and Reed was like, here, I just got you something. And I open it up and it's a tiny mug. And it's such a better accessory than what comes in Ark Nova. It's like just a chunky block. And I was like, this one's so much cuter.
I wouldn't know what gifts from Reed are like. Oh, I'm just joking. Even though that's joint. That's joint.
That's joint. I wouldn't give Becky her birthday present too early. This is like, I want to play White Castle. We need these coins.
But I think there's a good balance to be struck between, I think, the level of, one might say, glamour that some of the games in your collection have shown me. Take coins, for instance. I bought these metal... They're kind of like Dungeons and Dragons coins, kind of universal, like rustic fantasy coins. And I have one set of those, and anytime I play a fantasy game or something like that, I bring those out. And so, yeah, I don't have a type of coin for every single game that I play, But it does feel really nice when I can incorporate those coins into a game that I have, and they were pretty affordable. And so I think there's a middle ground to elevating your game slightly by bringing in something just a little bit more extra. For example, Patchwork. When I bought that game, Ashton and I play, I really want to upgrade the button cardboard pieces that are like the money that you use and also the victory points with real buttons. And I'm going to do that when we go vintage shopping. I just look around for buttons, and it brings me a lot of joy to try and source buttons on the secondhand market to add to this game. So I think there's a lot of creativity that can happen when you kind of covet the stuff that your friends have, or you see all these glamorous things on Instagram. It's like there are little ways that you can do it in your own collections.
I love this hobby so much, and I really appreciate that the three of us, I did not call anyone.
Whoa!
Becky, what did you mean?
Really
Who did you get rid
appreciate
of?
that the three of you share in this hobby with me, and I also am very grateful for my spouse Gillian, who does all of the research and learning the rules and sleeving cards, which I do help sometimes. All of the care to make this so wonderful, which maybe this becomes an additional topic, but I do wonder, like, at what point are these upgrades and things just like an upgrade to the quality of life for the hobby? You know, like my watercolors, I could upgrade the bits and pieces and be really excited about it. Like, I guess that's what all these board games accessories feel like to me.
I will say that if there's one set of coins that you need to replace all coins that you have, it is the Iron Clays from Roxley Games. I would pretty much use that in any game by default. So,
And those are out of print. So the FOMO part is you can't get those anywhere except on the secondary market. And they'll probably be released on Game Founder Kickstarter when the Brass Birmingham sequel comes out.
I just dove deep into figuring out if I could get those on like a used market. Absolutely not.
nobody gets rid of them. That's how good they are.
Thinking about upgrades, I rarely upgrade my pieces, and one of the things that I bought as soon as I bought Terraforming Mars years ago, I bought these things off of Etsy. I'm not sure the retailer, but they're basically the game boards so that your pieces don't fly all over the place as you're moving up in your production, and I don't know how you'd play the game without that.
Yeah, I think there's some things that make the games easier to play and make you more interested in coming back that don't cost very much. Wonderland's War is a terrible inside of the box holder. The tokens are everywhere. The plastic bags rip. And I may have mentioned I bought these little containers. They're like coin holders off of Amazon for only a few bucks. And being able to organize all of the cardboard components inside of those makes me much more willing to play this game and get it to the table more often. And I don't know that it's critical. Like, you can definitely play it without, but I think some of that little minimal investment will allow you to make a game even better.
Talking about critical upgrades, the one thing that I find most useful really is a good insert. A lot of board games, unfortunately, don't come with a good insert in the box from the factory. And it makes it difficult, as Angela pointed out, bringing them to the table, because if you just have a bunch of Ziploc bags that make it difficult to set up the game and tear it down, it makes it less likely that the game's going to get to the table, at least for Becky and me. And getting a good insert has made it much easier to table a game and get it to the table and play. The best example of that in recent memory for us is Age of Innovation, which has a ton of tiles, a ton of pieces, a ton of currency and everything floating about in random plastic bags. And getting an insert to that game made it much more manageable setting up and tearing down that game. So that is the one thing I would say is critical. As far as actual gameplay, really anything that makes it so that you're actually able to keep track of what's going on, like in Terraforming Mars and the player boards. If you don't have the upgraded player boards that have kind of that dual layer, then you're at risk of bumping the table and jostling your board and not knowing where things were, and that fundamentally affects the game. So anything of that nature is definitely necessary.
I also think that whether or not that this is critical to the play or not, the fact that you have painted some of the like fancy pieces from Apiary and Dune Imperium Uprising bring me joy. It's like secondary joy as we're playing it. So that's pretty critical.
Also, I don't think we ever mentioned on the podcast, but the very first time you came up to play Dune Imperium Uprising, I held up one of the plastic worms that were painted beige color, sand color, and you just reeled over the chair laughing.
They're very inappropriate. Very inappropriate. Although this weekend at the board game convention, people were playing Uprising without having painted them, and they were just like these kind of like white 3D printed things, and I was like, oh, why are you here with those? You need to paint those. I know.
I will say one of the things that also to mention about the board game convention that we went to was we got to play Roxley's newest release, Skyrise, for the first time, which is wonderful. Anytime I can go to something like this and play a game I've never played before, plus an interesting like game that I've kind of been looking at, like should I get this, should I not? It's so beautiful, the pictures, and getting to see it once it fulfilled, getting into people's hands. I instantly had a lot of FOMO, and we got to play that game, which I thought was really, really fun. And shout out to the kind human who I can't remember their name. We had seen Skyrise at a few tables on Friday the first day, and then Saturday came and nobody was playing it. Or vice versa. And then Sunday came and, we're like, Reed had to leave and we're like, where can we play Skyrise? And somebody hadn't brought it. And we saw a single copy hidden under a table. And we're like, you can't just rifle through someone's stuff. Like, you can't just touch their like Kickstarter exclusive bougie deluxe game. That's rude. But this very nice man put something in a bag next to it, and in one of my bravest moments said, "Hello, sir, do you know whose box this is?" And he said, "It's mine." And we said, "We'd really love to play Skyrise, but we don't know how to play, and I don't know if you have time." And he set it up, taught us how to play, and then left us alone with his Kickstarter beautiful upgrade Roxley edition of Skyrise. And kind human, whoever you were, like, thank you so much for giving us that experience.
Yeah, and Skyrise was a perfect example of where FOMO can lead you astray, I think, because I saw people playing it was actually Saturday. There were a couple tables where they were playing the Skyrise. I think it was collector's edition or whatever souped up edition it was, and it had the 3D printed buildings with the wash on it and the 3D printed or the kind of plastic platforms, I suppose, for the buildings to go on. It looked very imposing, very great table presence, and I was very interested in the game, and to the point where that night I went home and I ended up watching a Skyrise, like how to play, just to see what it entailed. Then you were brave enough to get it to the table, or ask somebody to get it to the table for us. We played it, and afterwards, or during the game actually, I thought, this is okay, this is fine, but I don't want it in my collection. But if I had realized that Skyrise was on Kickstarter at the time, or GameFound, or some other crowdfunding platform, I probably would have jumped on it, honestly, because it looked so great. It looked so nice, and Roxley Games has such a nice track record that I probably would have dove in and got the souped up edition. But after playing it, I'm not really interested in owning it.
So I also had a very brave moment at the game convention where I taught a group of strangers how to play the White Castle, which was a very interesting piece of bravery that I was able to do. And I think it was like someone's second turn, and then he said, "I'm gonna buy this game." So I think that some games just have that effect on people, and it's interesting because I think after we played, there was one game that we played, which I will not mention, that we're all kind of like, do we need to play it again? So it is interesting that some games you just fall immediately in love with, and some you're like, meh.
Yep.
And it's nice when those save you money, so you didn't go out and spend that much money.
And so I'm so glad Angela invested in Kutnahora. In retrospect, at the time I was very sad because I wanted Kutnahora. I wanted to be the one to buy and own it, and Angela bought it. But in retrospect,
Yeah, it's this one. This topic flows in and out of all the different pieces, like from accessories and upgrades to, I don't know how many people actually look at crowdfunding for board games. I would suspect that most people wait till it comes to retail or word of mouth. I mean, at the Board Game Con, we were trying to tell as many people as possible about Harmonies. And there was a new copy that was on the library, and people were just gravitating towards it. And you're like, hey, word of mouth got to me. Hey, this game looks cool. We're going to play it. And so I don't know how many people crowdfund search. I myself have not bought a ton of games off of crowdfunding, and really actually for the most part they're games that I have played that I'm interested in, but there's still things like I talked about Galactic Cruise that I was excited about, but ultimately I didn't know if I trusted all of the reviews that came out, and I didn't know that I had enough information to say, hey, this game is worth the price and I'm willing to pay that. Whereas Castles of Burgundy we had played before. Thunder Road Vendetta we had played. And so I felt a little better making that investment. But I think for the most part, people find games how they find games. And it's not always on the internet from a blog or from a podcast, but it might be from friends telling them how good the game is.
Well, let me tell you about Blood Rage and my history with Blood Rage. Because when I first discovered Blood Rage, it was because a friend of mine, it was their favorite game. I hadn't heard about it. It was long past its initial fulfillment from Kickstarter. And I played it initially. I wasn't all that enthused about it. Played it a second time. It hit me hard, and I loved it. Only to find out that it had a bunch of Kickstarter exclusives. And so I was dismayed. I don't even think I bought the retail edition at that point because I have FOMO. I want everything. If it's, especially if it's Kickstarter exclusive, I would have liked that. And so thankfully, CMON, or Come On, however you say it, they had a second kind of iteration that they put out where they had a bunch of surplus materials and games that they put up on Kickstarter to go through and buy some of the exclusives that they just had on hand in backstock, and I was able to get a lot of the Kickstarter exclusives from that. And so I thankfully have the full suite of Blood Rage components and accessories and upgrades and additional expansions and whatnot. And that is the only game I can think of in recent memory where I dove into it full steam ahead after playing it, and as Angela said, a known quantity at that point. So I knew I loved it. I knew I wanted it all because it wasn't going to be accessible, or it was going to be a lot more expensive later on. So I went full steam ahead on that one.
Gillian, I don't think you have any about this game, but do you have any regrets from your Kickstarter purchases?
Yeah, certainly. There are a few crowdfunded games that haven't panned out. One of which for me is Endless Winter. It came out, or it hit Kickstarter around the same time that Dune Imperium came out and Lost Ruins of Arnak. So all three were kind of touted as this amazing hybrid of worker placement and deck building. And the aesthetics of Endless Winter really caught my eye because it was from The Miko, who did the art for the Raiders of the North Sea and the other kind of Garfield Games series of games. And that really caught my eye, so I crowdfunded that. 2 years later, it finally fulfilled, and it was very lukewarm for me. It was just kind of a hodgepodge of mechanisms that I wasn't all that enthused about. And then I ended up buying Dune Imperium, and it was vastly superior, in my humble opinion.
And now, how do we get rid of this game?
It's tough because you back Kickstarters, they're expensive, you have to pay for the shipping of it, and they come with Kickstarter exclusives. And so that's always a tough thing to price out. Oftentimes, or at least what I'm thinking right now, is if I'm selling those, I just try to get my money back. I'm not trying to fleece people. And so that's how I'm approaching those. And Endless Winter isn't the only example. There are a couple others that have also been duds. But honestly, I've hit more successes than I have duds.
I would say that FOMO isn't necessarily my concern. It's more of the coveting of what people have. And I'm like, I want that on my collection, which I believe I talked about earlier. And I got a little burnt on the Quacks Mega Box. I was like, oh, Angela has Quacks. It's so great. What if I got Quacks, but bigger? And then it was just too big. I've never played it. Like, yeah, that definitely failed that test.
One of my favorite descriptions of those types of boxes are cardboard coffins where games go to die, because it's so big, so intense that opening it up just dissuades you from wanting to play the game.
And that game was actually saved from your house fire because it was at my house, and I was like, Reed, I'm going to help you. And so I had extra inserts for Quacks of Quedlinburg because I bought an upgrade. I bought these really cute 3D printed cauldrons. And so I organized that entire game, and it sits at my house waiting for the day that you come back for it. But the box is still really big, and the components only take up maybe a third of the box, but she's ready for you when you're ready.
All right. Yeah, I think it's also like this conversation, and we've talked about this a lot offline, like, when do you buy a game? And I just think I'm very discerning at this point, which does not look like I am, as I went out and bought White Castle and went out and bought the Red Cathedral, and all of these games that I do want to play because I think that I will actually get to play them with my other board game people, as again, we've talked about. But I was just doing some math, and I think that the only game, this probably isn't math, but that's not my jam to figure out what science it is.
Pseudoscience.
Pseudoscience. I think Scout is the only game that we all currently own.
Yeah, I would agree, because most of your games died in a fire, because we had owned collectively between two castles of Mad King Ludwig,
Orleans,
yeah.
Quacks of Quedlinburg. But I think to what you're actually saying about building back your collection and being more discerning, the first game I purchased on crowdfunding was actually this year, and it was the new Elizabeth Hargrave board game. And I don't think I'd done enough research, but it was a super case of FOMO. Like, what if I let the greatest game Elizabeth Hargrave's ever made pass me by? And I let that lead my purchase instead of saying, that game is absolutely coming to retail. You do not need to pay the shipping. Yeah, you'll get to play that game before everybody else. And yeah, you'll have some fancy mushroom upgrades, but you probably didn't need to buy that, and you could have waited for it. And I think about that, about being more discerning now than I was then. And I think that's the thing that keeps FOMO a little bit at bay, is wanting to be more researched. But I think coveting when you play that super great game that you're like, oh, that was so much fun. I think remembering that what I want to do is play that game more with my friends, and that I don't necessarily have to own it, but I can revel in sharing that experience with my friends and just being like, I'd really love to play your copy of this again.
Oh, like Ark Nova?
Yep.
Gillian made room for Ark Nova.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. There's no room in
But
there.
I will make room for Ark Nova.
No, you gotta make room for Barrage
And
over
Ark
there.
Nova. So too. See, I have stuff that I can just scoot over and make more space for. In
And
my
Gillian and I are
stuff.
also egging each other on about Lisboa, so that's going to hit somebody's.
And I'm making
shelf.
Angela on for Federation, so it's a race to see who buys it.
Guys, just when you thought we were better, we're probably worse. Thank you for listening to Board Game Homies. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and drop us a line on our Instagram page at Board Game Homies. See you next time.
One of the things that I absolutely loved about the board game convention was this feeling that as a group of homies who play board games, it was an opportunity for us to kind of share that identity with other people. We got a chance to talk about the podcast with some people, but then it also was nice to be able to like look across the room and be like, oh, Gillian's still playing that Wingspan game. Or, hey, 3 of us won places in the championships.
And so, what did you win, Reed?
Oh, I won for. Thank you. That was all my preamble leading up to this. I am an award-winning or tournament-winning Azul champion. I took first.
And Becky?
I took 3rd place in Cascadia. It was the best game in Cascadia I have played in my whole life, and we do have the stats on Gillian's app.
And I won first place in the Wingspan tournament, sort of by a tiebreaker that wasn't really verified, but the other person cleared their board before it was verifiable. So I won first by default, and it was the most excruciating game of Wingspan I think I played in a while, but it was worth it.
And Angela?
I won, always going first in Everdell for being the most humble board game player because I didn't win jack. I had a lot of fun, and that's all that matters, and my ego does not run away with me like the rest at this table.
But Angela definitely spoke to a lot more people than I think the three of us combined. So it was great.
I thought I did something super humble to win that, and you just like one-upped me.
I just want to say Becky doesn't always trust my opinions because I originally said Ark Nova and she was like, nay, it's Jesus.
I still don't want Ark Nova in our collection.
Well, she has a point. I literally offered to let you borrow it for however long you wanted, and you were like, but what if I bought it?
I wouldn't mind playing Ark Nova on this table.
I know. Ark Nova.
We're playing it on Saturday.
I know. I'm so... Wait, you're not. Sorry, Reed.
Oh, it's not? If I come over in the evening?
We're playing Blood Rage.
We're playing Blood Rage.
Oh. No, I didn't. Tried to go last time and I couldn't.
You can't put that on the podcast.
It's on it now.
Wait, what's happening?